Hey everyone, it's Mark Ferguson with Invest for More, and this is an exciting day. This is the first really multi-unit apartment building I've ever bought. So I've bought commercial properties before, and I have bought properties that were mixed use. That had some residential, some commercial, but this is a straight multi-unit property, an eightplex with 16 garages and 12 storage units that go with it as well. So we've also bought a lot of single family homes too. But this is kind of like, a new adventure for us. And this is one that was listed for $1.5 million when we bought it. We got a little cheaper. We'll talk about that, the price, the rents. We'll show you one vacant unit. All the rest of it is rented. I think we can show you one of the garages as well. It's got a coin-operated laundry, so we're going to check that out. We even have keys to see if there's any money in it, so that might be exciting too. So this should be a really fun property and hopefully a profitable property as well. Now, of course, check out Invest for More for much more information on our flips, rentals, be an agent, all of that great stuff. Have 9 books on Amazon if you really want to learn and dig into investing in real estate. Not only do we have rental properties, commercial properties, but we do a lot of flips as well. I think we just bought our 226th flip. First, what we'll do is we'll check out this vacant unit right here and show you what it looks like. And they're all the same, so they're all pretty much the same floor plan. And this one just went vacant right before we bought it. The seller had asked us, hey, do you want me to rent it or do you want me to leave it vacant and have you rent it? And I think some of the other rents were a little below market, so we decided, hey, leave it vacant, we'll rent it, we'll see what we can do and go from there. So let's take a look at what this one looks like. All right, so I believe this unit was rented for $1,100 or $1,050 a month. And so they're 2-bedroom, 2-bath units. They each came with a garage, a 1-car garage when they were rented before, and a storage unit. So like I said, it has 16 garages, 8 1-car garages, and the way the old seller had it lined up, each of these units just came with a garage, and 8 2-car garages that were all rented separately. And then there were 12 storage units that he just included with each of these apartments as well. And I think he had 4 of them, just didn't use them. So there's a lot of stuff going on with this property. Now, as you can see, it's not like brand new. It's not, completely remodeled, but it's not in horrible shape either. They're all pretty well maintained, little older remodels. And we can come through here and spruce these things up pretty quickly, pretty easily. Maybe paint. The floors really aren't that bad. Put in some decent light fixtures. They've all got kind of shower surrounds, low maintenance stuff there, so that's good. It should be fairly easy. Now, market rent, I really wanted to check rents before I came over here, and I keep forgetting. But I checked about a month ago. We've had this under contract for maybe, 2 months now. And when we first bought it, I thought market rents would be about $1,250 per unit based on what I was seeing. Could be higher now because rents keep jumping and prices keep going up. And then most of the units I saw for rent as well did not come with a garage or a storage unit either. So that could mean they might be a little higher as well. But that's kind of something we want to look at. Overall, the property right now as it sits brings in about $10,000 a month in rent when you combine all the units, all of the garages that are rented, because each of the 2-car garages, except for like 1, maybe 2, have a separate lease as well and are rented from like $160 to $200 a month. And we'll show you all of those, or at least the outsides of them. So bringing all that together, like I said, the list price on this was $1.5 million, and the way I found it was actually through a wholesaler, but I didn't buy it through that wholesaler. It's a wholesaler who I've actually had some kind of bad blood and problems with before. I bought a property from them before, and they kind of tried to do some shady things on it, but they sent it out, and it was listed when they sent it out on the MLS for $1.8 million, and I think they're trying to sell it to investors for $1.6 million. And when I saw that, I'm like, hey, this seller's motivated. They're willing to take much less than list price. I'm going to pay attention to this. It's probably going to come back on the market because I doubt the wholesaler's going to get 1.6 for it. And like a week later, came back on the market. I set up a showing, came to see it. The same day I set up the showing, they dropped the price from 1.8 million to 1.5 million. So then I'm like, oh, okay, they are motivated. So took a look at it, saw one unit, saw one of the garages, maybe I saw a couple units, saw it was in pretty good shape, and we ended up making an offer. I think it's 1.3. They countered, we came back and got it under contract at 1.4 million. So at that point, I brought a partner in on the deal who helped me in a number of ways. I'll talk about that too. But we did our inspection, found a few things wrong with it, nothing major, but we were able to get another $50,000 off the price. So we ended up buying it for 1.35 million. And then on top of that, we had a brand new roof installed on this building too, because our inspection found this roof to be bad. The seller's insurance covered it. So we got a new roof as well. So those are the basics of the numbers. We'll talk about more of it, and then we'll also walk around the outside and show you the rest of it here right now. So here's the outside of the property. The grass is a little dry. When I first saw it, it was perfect. So we might have to check that out, although we're getting close to fall. We don't have to water the grass in Colorado anymore. We are in Greeley, Colorado, for anybody who's wondering. A lot of you may think, oh man, making $10,000 a month on a $1.3 million purchase is not very good. Doesn't meet the 1% rule. You know, how is that a good investment? Well, properties in Colorado like this are pretty much selling at a 6 or less cap rate, which means you basically want a 6% return on a cash purchase. So if you bought it for $1 million cash, you'd want the net income to be $60,000 a year, or 6%. So this actually beats that by quite a bit. It's more than a 7 cap if you look at all the expenses and subtract them. And then the thing is, it's got potential too. As you can see, all these storage units. And right now, each one is kind of included with an apartment, but that's kind of like a bonus. So if we really wanted to up the return, we could rent those out separately. I don't know if that's a good use of our time or worth it or not, but that's something we could look into, or you could add it on as a bonus, a little extra money for the apartments, we'll see. There's a laundry room up there we'll look at with a coin-op laundry as well, which is not included in that kind of $10,000 a month, which I don't know how much that adds, probably not a whole lot. But then over here, we've got all this extra bonus stuff. There you go. There's 4 of the garages. They're 2-car. And one of those is vacant. Hopefully I can get that open. We have a whole box of keys we got with all kinds of information in different notes and stuff. And here's the 8 1-car garages that currently go with the apartments too. So again, that's one of those things we could look at it and say, hey, you know, do we raise rents and include a garage space? Do we try to rent the garages separate and maybe say, hey, as a bonus or, you know, as an extra fee, you can rent a garage? Those are things we'll look at and try and figure out the best way to manage this property. Besides these, there's even more. Don't worry. As we go back this way, you know, you've got this whole lot, which I think is about half an acre, if I remember right. You've got 4 more garages. So 8 2-car garages, 8 1-car garages, 12 storage units, and then 8 units. You can see they do need a little bit of exterior work. We need to paint these. There's some siding damage on the bottom. You know, that's some of the things we cited in our inspection objection for why we got the price reduction. It was just, we saw some of it when we first looked at it, but when we looked at it more in depth, there's just a little more than we thought. And I didn't even hire a professional inspector or anything. I just did pretty much the inspection myself, brought a roofer over to check out that. And then we saw also a little bit of rusting on the stairs, the metal stairs. So that was a little bit concerning as well. Because yeah, right here you can see some of the damage on the siding. We do need to repair that. And then for insurance, you know, they had their inspector come out and look at it. And they're also like, hey, you've got to repair the siding, paint this before we will insure these garages. And I think they said we had 90 days, 60 days to get them repaired. they'll send another inspector back out to look at them. All right. So that is all the outside of the property. I think we're going to take a look at the laundry room, see if we can open that up, and then we'll see if we can get inside some of these storage units and at least one of the garages and go from there. All right, so here's one of the garages right here. And the previous owner had kind of had his lawnmower, different stuff stored in here. So this one's vacant now. And yeah, like I said, I think they're being rented now from $160 to $200 a month. You might be able to get even $250 a month, but at least $200 for these. And so if you raise the rent on these, you raise the rent on the apartments as people vacate and move, and you freshen them up a little bit, you can probably up this from $10,000 a month to $12,000 a month, which is a pretty big difference. And really, if you're adding $24,000 in income a year, that's like $350,000 in value you're adding. Plus, I think we got a pretty good deal on this. So if we stabilize this property, get rents to where they should be, we probably have a $2 million property on our hands with market value. And then it's kind of like, hey, do we want to keep it and just collecting rent? Do we want to sell it, exchange it into something else? We'll have lots of options at that point. Like I said, I did use a partner with this property. I've only used a partner one other time. That's on my big 68,000 square foot strip mall. And the reason I used a partner on this one is just because it can be tough to finance properties like this quickly. And that's one reason we got a pretty good deal on it. And that partner actually has a connection who's financing this property for us. So they're giving us I think it's a $1.1 million loan at 5.5% interest rate for a few years. And so we have that locked in at a pretty decent rate for private money. Then we didn't each had to bring $100 and some thousand to the table to buy a $1.3 million property. That's a pretty cool deal. So along with that, me being the agent, I was able to make a pretty good commission buying it as well. And so a lot of pluses to this, a lot of upside. Even though it doesn't make like a stupendous amount of money compared to some other markets that have really high cap rates, a lot better rent to value ratios. And another idea I had too is we have a commercial shop with like 900 square feet where we store a bunch of our building supplies and materials for my flipping business, remodeling business. And we could just take 2 of these garages and put all our stuff in here, and then we could rent out the other space probably for $1,000 to $1,200 a month. So make more financial sense to use these, but we might have to shrink down the space we use a little bit, which is probably a good thing because we have a lot of junk and stuff in there we don't need. So that's an option as well. And you can also see too, these had newer roofs within the last year or two, but the apartment building had an older roof that was 7 years old. And you think, hey, 7 years old, that's great, no problems. Well, we get a lot of hail in Colorado, a lot of hail, and had a lot of storms. So that roof was not in amazing shape, but we did have them put on a new roof on there. So like I said, our inspection showed the roof was damaged, needed work. We went to them and said, hey, will your seller's insurance take care of it, pay for it? They filed a claim. They did. They had the roof done, replaced before we bought it, so that was awesome. So like investment joy, we can check our laundry machines and vending machines and see if there's any money. All right, so we're at my new 8-unit apartment complex, and we have coin-operated washer and dryer. So I feel a little bit like investment joy right now, seeing if there's actually any money in here. Now, we literally just bought it. So if the seller was smart, he would have come over here the other day and, oh, that is not where the money is. And he would have probably collected the money. Down there, I don't even know what I'm doing. Right here, this key. Right. Oh, no, not that one. So suspenseful. Oh, look at that. There's quarters. We have at least $3 in there. We are raking in the money. All right, let's see what this one has. Now that I figured out sort of what I'm doing, kind of. maybe. There we go. Oh, nope. That is not the right key. Okay. Unless it was the same one for both of them. No? Okay. What about this one? Oh, maybe. There we go. Oh, look at that. There's even more in there. This is exciting. Now I see why videos get so many views. We'll have to count that later. Because, you know, if I was a seller, I'd probably come over here and check it right away and get my money to see if there's anything in there. And I opened it up thinking there wouldn't be much, if anything. And in this one, there was some. There was like, you know, haven't counted yet, $3, something like that. Like, oh, that's kind of cool. And in this one, look at that. There's even more. So bonus money right there. I know it's not like a ton of money compared to buying the property for $1,350,000, but that extra, you know, $7 or $8 is kind of more fun in a way, just because it's a unique way to make money and extra bonus money. So there you go. Here's a little laundry room, washer and dryer, and pretty, well, there's a little bit of work up here, but pretty cool little extra area. And right there's the boiler room, and I'll have to see if we have a key for that. I'm sure we do somewhere, but I don't have it right with me. But it's got hot water heat throughout the building. And then, so I think how they did it before is the landlord paid water, he paid for gas and your heat, but then the tenants pay for their electric because they all have separate meters that you can see right there. And so I think 8 of those are for the apartments, and then 1 of them is for the common areas and the garages. So the garages obviously don't have to pay electric. That'd be kind of crazy to have 16 separately metered garages, but the landlord pays for those and then just collects rent, like a base amount for those. All right, I thought I would cut in here real quick and just show you what the actual rents are on the apartments and talk about the numbers just a little bit. There's so many different numbers we can go into on this, and I'm not going to go into all of them right now, but maybe later on in another video we can go through all of those, the tax advantages, the cash on cash return, the cash flow, all of that great stuff. All right, but real quick, the current rents are $1,000, $1,150, $1,000, $1,000, $975, $1,000, $1,150, and then 1 vacant unit for the apartment. So I think that one was rented at $1,150 before this. So right now we're getting $72.75 for the apartments, but if they're all rented, about $84.25 for current rents, what they would be currently. Now at the garages, we're getting $150, $160, $170, $160, $175, $170, $160 for a total of $11.45. Again, if we rented another one of those garages at $180 or something, we'd have $13.25 total coming in. So for the total building, that's what this number is right here, we have $84.20 coming in right now, but if that garage and that apartment were rented, $97.50, so very close to that $10,000 I was talking about. Now, real quick, I'm going to show you kind of how you would figure numbers on this a little bit. I'm being really lazy when I do this. So I talk about cap rate, and cap rates being about 5.5 to 6 for this type of property. That's a net cap rate after all expenses and your real net profit. But we can also use a gross number, which is much lazier and easier. So I can look at other properties that have sold, which I've done, and figure out, hey, most of them are selling at about a 7% gross cap rate, which means basically all the rents coming in are about 7% of the property value. So for example, how we would figure that, if we have this $84.20 number, we take $84.20, that's per month, we multiply it, oh, I didn't even do it right, I'm already messing everything up, hold on. $84.20 times 12, because that's per month. Now you have your yearly rent number coming in. You divide this by 0.07, which is kind of like your gross cap rate. The property is worth $1,443,000 according to that. We bought it for 1.35. So even with some vacant units, it still was a pretty good deal. Now, if we take the $97.50 number, times it by 12, We have 117,000 rents coming in a year. Divide that by 0.07. That says the property's worth about 1.67 million. Now that's, again, different properties will have different expenses, different costs, so it's a very rough way to do it, but it actually turns out to be fairly accurate. When I was going through all the sold properties, what they sold for, they're all pretty consistent around this number. A few sold higher, a few lower, but in that range. So if we just rent what's there, we got a really good deal still. Now we come down to this here, maximize rents. If we rent this at what market rent is, and I did look at comps on Zillow and Facebook, and $1,250 is like the base price for a 2-bedroom, 2-bath apartment right now. It's hard to find anything less than that, and most of them are more than that. And if we rent all the garages for $200 a month, that's about what, you know, maximized rents would be. So at that point, we'd have $11,600 a month times 12. Your yearly cash flow, we divide that by 0.07, 1.988 million. So we have almost a $2 million property by maximizing those rents. And we're not even counting the laundry money, which was $14. So then you have that extra bonus on top of that as well. And then we have more bonuses too. I mentioned the storage units, the 1-car garages. Hey, if you really want to get crazy, you know, $360 a month, we're assuming we rent every storage unit for $30 a month. You rent each 1-car garage for $100 a month, which is pretty affordable. You have another $800 a month. And you think, oh, $800 a month, that's not very much compared to $10,000. But when you run the numbers, every little bit adds up. We take $360 plus $800, and you get $1,160 a month. You times it by 12. That's almost $14,000 a year you're bringing in. You divide that by 0.07, and you're adding almost $200,000 in value to the property by renting those out separately. So that's another option as well, because now you've got a $2.2 million property once you add those incomes into it. And so there's a lot of different things to think about on these, but that's just a real basic, rough math for figuring out what the property's worth. And remember, it varies in every city. So if you're in Ohio or California, that 7% rough number is going to be completely different than what it is where I'm at. Now, another thing we can do to kind of figure out the returns a little bit, again, we can go into so much more detail, is I'm on investformore.com, my site, our rental property cash flow calculator. And you can just go to the site, investformore.com. We have the calculators right here that list all of our calculators. We have lots of cool stuff on here. But you can put in the numbers here and figure out what it actually makes per month. So if we have that $9,700, which is the not maximized basic rent if we rented everything right now. We have our loan, principal and interest, which is basically just interest. We have an interest-only loan. Monthly taxes, monthly insurance, and then we can figure out right here, our initial monthly cash flow is like $3,800 a month. So that's pretty good. But I've said it many times before, these aren't all your costs on a property. So you have to look at maintenance costs, vacancy costs, property management. So these, again, I haven't delved into these too deep, but it's got a new roof. Everything's in really good shape. So there shouldn't be too many maintenance costs, but there could be more than this. I might be lowballing that a little bit. If we say $500 a month, vacancy costs at $500 a month, that's, you know, $6,000 a year for both of those. Vacancy costs are probably a little high, maybe maintenance a little low. Property management, I don't have anything in here yet, but obviously either if we do manage it ourselves, we still have time into it, so there'll be costs there. So there should be some costs there. Again, we don't have an HOA, but there could be obviously utility costs here. I'm not sure exactly what those will be because we'll be paying water, and there'll be some, you know, yard maintenance, things like that as well in here. So then we can kind of get our total final monthly cash flow and what the property will make after everything. So if we, you know, get that $9,700 a month in rent, we're still making a couple thousand a month, which is pretty good considering we're putting very little into it. And we have like a $250,000 down payment. Whoops, I did that backwards. So we'll take 2,100 times 12 is 25,200. You divide that by 250,000. You're making like 10% return on your money. Now we can go back up here, and if we're making 10,600, then that changes all these numbers and it's maximized. Now we're making, you know, $3,000 a month. Oh, that should be 11,000. I'm like, that doesn't make any sense. That's not high enough. There we go. Like 11,000 Now we can see your cash flow is even higher and you're making 20% on your money, a really good deal, and we're not even thinking about depreciating the taxes, rent increases over time, all kinds of other advantages, and the laundromat money as well, which is we know is going to add up to crazy amounts. So that is the property. Super excited. We got it bought. Been a very cool process and just fun to buy a big one like this again. We haven't bought a really big commercial or residential property like this for a while. So it's fun to do. We've been buying lots of smaller ones, lots of flips, but this is a pretty cool process. So I'm sure we'll have many more update videos if we update the units, talk about the financials, changing rents, things like that. So make sure you subscribe, stay tuned for that. We love it when you like our videos, love it when you leave comments, so let us know what you think of this purchase. Smart, dumb, in between. We love to hear from you either way. And of course, check out investformore.com for a lot more information, everything we're doing. Have a free book on there too as well. It kind of shows how I got started and got to this point in my career. All right, thanks for watching. We'll be back with a lot more coming up here soon.